All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast, episode 116, special Halloween edition. I am your host, Supreme King. Join with me, as always, is my co-host, and his name is...
It's your guy Obeses. Boo! See, that's my contribution for Halloween.
All right. Well, yes, Halloween edition, it was funny because I didn't really prepare for it. I was just like... Oh shoot, it is technically a Halloween, so let's just try to go grab some the closest to horror footage as I can find, which is Resident Evil. And it reminded me when I was grabbing this, I had to come back to we had to circle around back to Resident Evil. It's Halloween, sir. Did you finish Resident Evil 7?
No, because I never promised to finish it.
Man, what you doing, man? You promised the people a long time ago.
The people.
Now we here at we're here. We finally made it. We was counting on your footage for today. We don't have your footage. What is you doing? Why you ain't played the game, man? It was 6 hours. You would have been done with it by now. 2-3 times, but like, you could have been speed running and everything.
Promised the people that I would finish it. I never did that.
You started the game, did you not?
I did.
Okay.
I got scared.
And you got scared. All right.
I got scared.
Well, I didn't get scared to play Resident Evil 3, so I have the footage here.
Resident Evil 3 wasn't first person.
I mean, first, whatever. It's the same thing, ain't it? It's the same. What's the difference, really? The first. Because you can't see next to you or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess. You can't. I mean, as a third person, you still can't let them get that close.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't. I mean, all right. Well, my co-host did not play the we're gonna hold it to him anyway. But anyways, we're gonna get to probably one of the bigger topics of this week. Which is actually an ongoing thing that you were bringing up a lot, but I guess it's now a bigger topic overall for a lot of people, which is the Dragon Age Veilguard reviews. The game, I guess, is officially released today or yesterday.
I'm waiting for one review before I determine whether I get the game or not, and that's the person I was talking about last week.
Well, the game apparently, the reviews are interesting to me, because it adds to a certain narrative that's out there. But I guess the long story short is that, like, is one crowd giving it almost perfect scores, and then like more of a gamer person that's not really commercialized, politically correct type people who are like on a very opposite end of the spectrum. It reminds me of like when Last of Us 2 first came out, almost, where it was just like, here's all these like corporate reviews where it's just like the greatest game of all time, and then here's all the people who genuinely did not like it. That was mainly not liking the story.
Now I dug a little bit deeper though, and like I even found this one review where even in the comments people were saying, I only look at 2 reviews, this person and like another person, and from the one that I found, one of them was like praising the game, and the other person apparently in that, like the person when they said they followed the reviews, like bashed the game. But the guy who praised it, they said like in his review, he specifically explained, here's why I like it. Like, this is the thing I like, this is the thing I like, this is the thing I like. Some people aren't going to like this. I didn't mind. Some people aren't going to like this. I didn't mind. Like, he was very thorough. It wasn't just like, here's clips of, like, the one random 1-minute woke scene. I hate this game. I'm never playing again. Or the reverse, where it's, here's a clip of a 1-minute woke scene. Man, this thing has everything. And it's like, okay. Let me get real reviews.
Pretty much though, what I've gathered for me personally, it's not necessarily a hard pass, but it's like a pass for right now. From what I've gathered, there was a couple things that stood out to me that I think we had questions about that I think were confirmed. where the whole Disney thing is definitely like in this
Yes,
game.
that
Um,
is a big deal. The whole
the
what we call it, Fortnite aesthetic. Like,
Yeah, like how everything looks, but it goes down even deeper because what I mean by Disney thing is they also have somewhat of the music being the same way. Where there was some scenes where people were showing where you would have thought this was clipped from a Pixar movie, and there was one big thing also where this game is more. It shows that you have different dialogue options. This was a thing that kept coming up on a lot of reviews that I was looking at just for this segment. But if you chose, let's say you chose the closest to the more degenerate option or something that might seem a little bit more rude to say to somebody, like you could say something like or pick the option on screen, but the person who started acting out that spot, they don't say what you wanted them to say. They say something where it's like way more politically correct. It's almost like this is what I said in my head, but when I say it out loud, this is what I said. Like if that person's at work or something,
okay,
or if that person's like
well,
in a church or
so
something.
okay, so two things. One, I did hear about how the game won't let you like truly be evil. You're kind of like the nice person around and
Yeah.
stuff, so that's a problem. However, um, the not saying exactly what the dialogue option thing is something I'm already used to. I'm pretty sure the other Dragon Age games did that, and there's a lot of games that do that, where I'll see like an option, and you click it, and it's like directly not the tone you expected. Uh, like I've even seen games where it was just like it'll just be like, uh, I would have chose something different like that. So I'll click that, and he's just like, yeah, huh, that was a dumb choice. Only idiots would have made that choice. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect it to go that far. Like, that doesn't deter me that much from it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, so it's almost like you would have said something like you would have wanted to say a curse word. Let's say that, right? But then it would have been like they would have spat out something John Cena would have said in 2010. Basically,
Right. Yeah. No,
it
I
was
got.
it was that kind of thing. The biggest thing though, actually on my end too, what I saw, which I think is actually more unacceptable in 2024, was that when when they ever get to the people's facial expressions as well as the lips moving, there was like virtually no lip sync whatsoever for when they're talking, and then there was no emotion on their faces at all. They look very very Play-Doh. It's
That's
one
a
thing for
problem,
them to
but I
be
think that has to do
Disney.
with that art style.
Yeah, but it's like nothing. It's like there's not a eyebrow raise kind of thing at all. There's none of that. And it's funny because we'll talk about PlayStation in a second, but PlayStation was like remastering certain games that were not even really that old, like Horizon and Last of Us Part 1 is arguably a little old. But the main thing that they were remastering it for was to really nail facial expressions, right? I think Spider-Man 2, like going to get the like clean cut kid looking Spider-Man from Peter, that was another reason that they came up with like changing the face, was that they were trying to get as much facial expression as possible. Whereas like with this game, there's like no facial expression, like at all. Whether the person's supposed to be mad, whether they're supposed to be happy, sad, any type of expression, it's just not there. And I think that's a little unacceptable. For a game to come out full price, definitely to be like the last of the big games that were supposed to come out for October, right before all the Game Awards and stuff. It was positioned to be a big deal, and something like that. I think if is this supposed to be a AAA game? We're calling it a AAA game, right? From
Yeah,
BioWare.
BioWare, of course. It's
So like they couldn't have done that. Like I don't know. That's just the game on screen is old, right? Well, it's not that old, but 2019 or 2020, and they were able to do that. Capcom. Well, Capcom may be bigger. I don't know, but I just felt like that was a little um unacceptable to me. But yeah. Um, as far as the reviews, I've seen a few things. As far as like the people who were considered commercial and the people who were not. When I see this type of like divide and the whole like trying to hide review codes, that kind of thing. I really question why a franchise would even go through that now in 2024, where they're really trying to make sure a game is like, the game should speak for itself. You shouldn't really have to like hide it from anybody. You shouldn't have to try to control the narrative of how it's being presented to anybody. It should be universal. We shouldn't really see somebody saying it's like a 9 or a 10 out of 10, and like it's like clearly not to a lot of other people too. It's just kind of strange to me that we go there, because to me, I'm just like, well, who are we brainwashing? Like who are we brainwashing to try to say that it's like the greatest game of to this year, and then for other people to say that it's not. Like, it can't be that extreme. But I don't think it's the worst game of the year. It's probably being positioned that way by the
Well,
internet a little bit.
part
I
of what it
w-
reminds me of
mm-hmm.
was how much Gotham Knights was bashed.
Uh-huh.
Remember how like that game went through the ringer? Uh, so Gotham Knights was bashed, and then if you look at reviews now, it basically averages to like a 6.5 out of 10. Which,
Yeah.
even though 6.5 sounds bad, I don't think, if you don't look at it as a normal grading scale, a 6.5 out of 10 means it's an above average game, which you would not think it's an above average game based off how much it was bashed uh, as like a game. So I feel like this is going to end up falling there too. I don't know. Some of the reviews that I also ignore, I try to ignore anything that's given it a 5 out of 5 or a 1 out of 5, especially since it came out today. Uh, like, I feel like you
Mm-hmm.
haven't even really had time to like reflect on what you just did, right? Like, I don't know, it's so there's that, and then on top of that, if I'm watching the review and they're taking forever to actually talk about the gameplay and the story, if everything is about like wokeness or like in either way, or just it's kind of ignoring that, it's just kind of going off of what people are complaining about, and it's not even just talking about, it's like, did you enjoy the combat, like, or did you like want to put the controller down because it was like, this is boring and I'm not having fun? Did you enjoy the story and want to see the next scene? Like, if you're not giving me any of that, I don't care about your. Like, I don't really care about the opinion. Uh, so again, that's why I said I have my person that I'm waiting to hear her review from, because I know she's into Dragon Age lore and things like that. I do feel like a lot of people kind of hopped bandwagon and it's like, yeah, I've never played a Dragon Age game, but here's wrong with this game, or here's why this game is the greatest in the world. And it's like, I don't want your opinion. Like, uh, so I'm just waiting to just hear for like real stuff. I'm gonna play it. It's just I'm waiting to hear the review to see how fast I play it.
I did see a couple reviews that were a little lengthy that did go into some detail about the story. Some people, there was a couple people who did bash it a little bit, but
I saw it too. I saw
um
both ends too. They were bashing the story and enjoying it. Some were enjoying it. Some were bashing it. Uh, I did like those reviews are a little better, but seems to be, yeah, all over the place.
one of the things that was coming up a lot was that people were saying that after about 50 hours in, you would get to the last 2 to 5 hours of the game, and that's when it actually is good, where they could not say too many things wrong with it. And they were mentioning that that's when the choices you make and certain things going on actually feel worth it and feel valuable to what your experience is supposed to be. That was a little alarming to me because the most consistent thing was after 50 plus hours in. That was something I didn't really like because it's like 50 hours in is kind of a long time to really have
You know
something
what's
pick
funny?
up.
That's actually not that alarming to me for two reasons. One, how long how long did it take for Persona to let you just even like go out at night? Uh, and two, for Dragon Age Inquisition, there's like a whole area that like I enjoyed that game from front to like from start to finish. Uh, and there's a whole area that people complain about amongst other parts of that game where it was just kind of like nothing really happening. It's just kind of a slog area to get through. Um, it was really filler, so that doesn't surprise me that this game also has a lot of filler. It takes forever for like things to feel impactful because they want it to end on a strong like ending.
I
So
can understand that with Persona because with Persona the game was just starting off. Where the way it sounds with this, it sounds like quite literally the last 2 hours of the game is what people are saying is good. Whereas like well, at that point the game is over. You know what I mean? It's not. It's to me like
well, I didn't hear it as that's the only time it's good. I heard that's the time when your choices feel impactful because so to me that just sounds like now they're making it to where like you're seeing the result of everything you.
hmm well, the game just came out. It should be available pretty much everywhere but Nintendo. There was a couple things that I noticed that I didn't know before. Apparently, the game is about 100 gigs in size,
Woo.
and um, I think that was probably the only thing. It's about 100 gigs in size, which I didn't know that it needs to be 100 gigs in size. But
They all are now.
yeah, but it's out there. Take it or leave it. I don't. I honestly think that this game from the type of energy that's around it, I think it's going to probably hit the Game Awards and be nominated in a bunch of categories it probably has no business being in. But it's probably going to be in like 5 or 6 categories, and I'm only hoping that a game like Black Myth Wukong gets acknowledged. I'm almost at that point where I just want it to just be acknowledged, but I think it's not going to get anywhere near as many nominations as this, which reminds me of Alan Wake 2 in a way, where it was just like in a
Or
bunch of
like
different categories.
Hogwarts, basically.
Yeah, I think so because
Myth
there's a
Reflector.
certain group that's behind this game, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not behind something like Black Myth. And it is what it is, but I think overall the energy surrounding this game kind of ties into the next topic in a way, which has to deal with PlayStation. Which for me, the reason why I say that is because I think we're headed towards a great reset. I've heard that term so many times, and that's more of a conspiracy term outside of gaming. But I think there's a great gaming reset that has to happen where, um, we're going to have a lot of casualties at war. I think this is the real war. I don't think it's the console war. I think it's the war of the people who make the games versus the people who buy the games, unfortunately. But the next topic was really just dealing with PlayStation. There's two topics in one for me for PlayStation, but basically, PlayStation shut down two studios in the past week. One of them was called Firewalk, and the other one is it Neo Kai or Neon Kai? I think it's called Neon Kai or Neon Koi. Am I saying it right? I'm in the dark. I ain't got no lights on. What is this? Is it KOI? Right? I think that's is that a O? Anyways, two
Yeah. Neon Koi.
Neon Koi. All right, two studios basically. One of them is obviously known around the most recent game that they had canceled overnight, which was Concord, maybe possibly the most biggest flop in gaming history. When you think about costing, what was it, between 250 million to 400 million or something like that, which is kind of crazy to just pull it like immediately. But I know for a while people were saying, oh, they were going to bring it back somehow, some way, which maybe that's true. I don't know, but they've dropped the studio behind it.
Yeah, they said the plan was to bring it back, but now that they're dropping the studio, that's not gonna happen.
That's just crazy to me that you just have all that stuff and that's just it. It's just because they could have just left it the way it was and it could have just been the flop and that would have been the end of it. But I guess if it was supposed to be a like live service ish type game, then you probably couldn't just leave it out there like that. Like, is Destruction All Stars like? Does that have live service stuff, or
Oh
did
yeah,
they
it was
just
all live service.
like they just forget about it? Right? Like I know they don't really do nothing with it, and I think nobody else really cared. I think it's just there, but it's still there. Like somebody can still literally play it if they wanted to, right? Where these two studios shut down. Did the other studio even put something out? Like one of these didn't put nothing out at all, right?
I think Neon Koi didn't.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's like, what were they doing this whole time, and why was it just? Was it just another live service? Because remember, if we go back about a year or two, they wanted to release 10, and some of these have already, like, I don't think any of them actually was considered a hit, but some of them have been canceled. Some of them, what are we talking, like,
What? Neon Koi was supposed to be making a live service game. So
yeah, so they definitely moonwalked on the live service thing. It's just so crazy that they went there to begin with, because it was just like one of those things where no one wanted it. You
uh,
know, I mean, you could have just interviewed 100 people at like waiting outside for the original PS5 at a store, and maybe 5% of them would have been like, yeah, I really want a live service game. But if you made them choose between a live service game and a single player game, I don't think you would have gotten anybody who would have asked for a live service game. So I don't know who they paid to do some sort of $1 billion survey. Because I think back in 2013, when Xbox had released their Xbox One, or was talking about it at a E3, and everybody was going in on them because of the whole like TV thing that somebody did on YouTube that went like super viral, that kind of just killed their entire like generation that year, or generation period. um I think they mentioned that they spent a lot of money on, somebody doing some sort of research saying watching TV on everything will be the future. And the funny thing about it is it kind of is. People will watch stuff on their like smartwatches. It's just you didn't really want it presented that way. Now we're in a position where somebody must have told someone at PlayStation, or just at the industry in general, that we would want all digital future with everything being live service. And that's not really the case either. It's something that's an option, but it's not like to replace anything else. And for some reason, they feel in both cases with the TV thing and the live service thing, this is supposed to replace a traditional video game that has a definitive start and finish, roll credits, and that's it. And they're paying for it. They're paying for it. It's the Great Reset. We are definitely in the Great Reset because everybody's losing their job. It's just, it is what it doesn't matter what company you're with, how big the company is, how small it is, whatever the game is. Like everybody, like Naughty Dog canceled a game, and Naughty Dog is supposed to be like top 5, right? So yeah, it's the Great Reset. What do you guys say about this topic?
uh, it upset me that they closed down Firewalk Studio.
Yeah.
a lot. So we've mentioned kind of this before that I feel like we're never gonna get a new franchise. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any franchise, any new franchise, we're not gonna get that. There's no gonna be like how you know the Like a Dragon series, how you have
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza 0 through 6, and then Lost Judgment and Judgment, and Like a Dragon. Like there's four of those. Or even having like Naughty Dog does, or not Naughty Sucker Punch does their thing where they release threes of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But past that, we're not gonna get any crazy long running franchises ever again because they keep shutting things down after the first one instead of learning from it. So
Mm-hmm.
like as an example, there's a studio I just looked up. Their first game uh was considered nothing serious and they made about 1,500 from game sales total.
Mm-hmm.
They sold about 1,000 copies. They got a 3 out of 4. If you want to take their real first game, that was actually on like it was like Sega Genesis. They got reviews that were like around 40 to 60%. It was mixed reviews, and it barely, it sold moderately commercial success. And in this day and age, moderate success means studio gets closed down. This was Naughty Dog. Their first few games didn't really do great. And if they would have
Mm-hmm.
gotten shut down after those first few, we wouldn't have gotten Crash, Uncharted, Jack, and Daxter, Last of Us. Like, none of that would have happened because they decided to start with a skiing game. Right? Like, they were not giving studios a chance to do stuff. Um, Concord messed up because they decided to go live service. Give them a chance to see how they would have tried to fix it. To me, it was the same thing with Anthem. Like I personally, I enjoyed Anthem. It wasn't great. It was like around an average game, but I played through it. I would have liked to see what they would have done if the revamp instead of just quitting on it. But now they're like not even getting a chance to quit on it, like to choose to quit. They're just getting shut down, and it's just like they're never gonna release anything great because they're not gonna be able to learn from it and make a better one for a sequel and a better one after that. Like the moment one does not sell the way they want, that's it. We got to move on, and the whole studio gets shut down and it gets absorbed into Call of Duty. Like that's what it feels like is happening right now. Oh, so
I
it's
think
really
that's more. I think that's more centered around the bigger developers or the bigger publishers. We still get a little bit from the indie crowd. It's just
oh yeah,
those
one or
type of
two
games don't
examples, but
really
like
get attention.
yeah, I want like the AAA big game that has like multiple sequels. That's like new. I want a new one to come
Mm-hmm.
out, right? Like we already got Last of Us. We know that that's gonna somehow keep going. Horizon's gonna somehow keep going. God of War's gonna somehow keep going. I don't see there being the next one. Like I don't see what the next one is because everybody's getting shut down. It already takes 10 years to get a sequel out, but now everything's just getting shut down. So it's like it's just never gonna happen.
I think it'll come back the second we hit ground zero. But I think they got to hit ground zero first. Because they gotta get to the point where they're making products with more meaning, a little bit more pride behind it, a little bit more culture behind it, where it's not just about trying to make the most money as quickly as you can. Right now, in the industry, we're at least in the bigger AAA space. It's more about how much money can you make and how quickly can you make it.
Yeah, kind of.
And with that attitude, they end up making nothing basically, or as least amount as they could versus like a whole bunch. And then they're doing things. They are being weird about it because we're having situations that I don't think we've seen before where there's just a lack of a physical release now all of a sudden with a lot of just obscure titles here and there. It seems like the biggest titles would get that physical release, but even then, it don't seem like they want to print that many. Like you can have a game come out and be brand new, and you go to your local store and they might have like 2 copies. And it's like that's literally what they would have. Like the first come first serve. It's not like a Like if you had a whole line of people who actually did show up like the old days, it's like they would have ran out like way early. Um and so they're really trying to squeeze the dollar in gaming as much as they can. I don't know who these suits are, why they've jumped from Hollywood into video gaming, but yeah, we got to starve them out. They have to first believe that there's no money in investing in video gaming, which might sound scary at first because that sounds like, well, you wouldn't get that many games. I think you would still get it's the same amount of games that you want to play, but you won't get that many like filler of just stuff coming out that you will look at one trailer and then you just throw it away. I think that will kind of dry up a little bit, but it kind of has to happen at this point. I think it does because you got to get the industry back in line with their consumers to basically say this is the product that the people want and we're going to give them as close to it as possible. I don't understand how everybody is trying to deviate as far away from where their roots probably were maybe 10-15 years ago or something, because sometimes these sequels are like definitely shells of their former selves. It's like it's almost like you know how like some people might have thought like certain wrestlers in the wrestling space will come back 10-15 years later. It's like you're clearly not the same person. Some of these games are the same way. The movies are in the same position. I think the Matrix Resurrections was a huge one from I think 2 years ago.
It's a weird spot where they're both shells and not evolving at the proper rate where they should. And I honestly think part of it has to do for the game sequels, that much time being in between the two. It's like you don't get to just make a natural step up from the previous game. It's like the natural step up from the previous game is still now going to be old. So it's either you have to try and revamp everything, which revamping everything always means chasing the trend for some reason. So now it just feels like the shell is just copying the current trend, or they stick to it and just say we're just going to make like the previous one, and then everything feels outdated. And I think part of it is because it's taking so long to get a new game out.
Yeah, well, folks, I gotta say is Happy Halloween. This is the horror story part. I gotta tell you, it's gotta get worse before it gets better. And it sucks to say that, but we gotta get through the next probably the next half of this generation where they're gonna take a lot of their time and throw it into AI to put together a bunch of games that's gonna have like no soul whatsoever. It's gonna be a lot of cut and paste with a lot of cool looking trailers with no substance and a name of a sequel that you've seen before to sell a game, and the games are gonna be almost 50 to 75% made by AI. We got to get through that generation first. Because that's got to happen, and then they got to basically not make money on that as well. And then we can probably say, all right, let's stop for a second. Let's simplify the teams down. Let's simplify out, especially all of these like open world crap fest, side quest crap fest games. And get back to just making something that's probably just a linear game too, like just something that's actually start and finish, definitive, beginning and end. Because that's what's going to actually sell. Something that has a real story, real meaning, to the point where almost like I mentioned wrestling, somebody like John Cena will politic his career like to the T. You almost have to have like somebody look at a video game in a way and say, like, there's no way we're going to let this be reflected like this or that. We're not going to let, this come in here and interfere with our vision and stuff. And once they get back to thinking that way, I think gaming will boom again. but it's got to go through a really long down period because we're at the very beginning of the AI phase, and I think we got to go through the full AI phase first before it gets better. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a DC fan. I'm used to it. We used to wait for the good stuff. It's fine. I can wait a little bit longer, but I think you're right. Unfortunately, it's just they're gonna go the lazy route. Things are just gonna get ruined. They're gonna blame the gamer. Everything's just gonna look bad, and you just gotta wait for them to just reset. And I think again, we have to wait for these big wigs to quit and get out of gaming, so there can be passion in it again.
All right. I have a smaller topic that's still within PlayStation. I just want to mention real quick. Something that I'm seeing that's like like circling around on the internet basically around the PlayStation 5 Pro's like plates in particular. But apparently the PlayStation 5 Pro, so some people are getting theirs early, like it's just coming in the mail early, and it apparently has the exact same dimensions as the Slim, and that for a lot of people meant that, oh, I can probably take the plates off of the Slim and put it on the Pro because you already had bought all these other plates, and apparently you can't. And so there's like a controversy around it because they're saying PlayStation deliberately made it to where it can't fit so that you buy more plates, I guess,
Oh, for sure.
which is a whole thing in itself. Um, which to me is actually not the worst part of it. The worst part's going to probably come in the next couple of months, but um, the plates thing is pretty minor. But I can understand the frustration if you were somebody who really wanted to have, you know, your customized stuff and you don't want to keep buying extra stuff. The whole point of the PS5 Pro is to keep you buying more, though. Like, I don't know how anybody could be like surprised there because they're making you buy the stand of all things, you know. That stand is like completely useless on its own. And it could clearly fit in the regular box. There's nobody's gonna tell me that it couldn't. But um, the big thing that I think is gonna come from this, which kind of deviates from the topic a little bit, but well, let me ask you first. How do you feel about that before I like deviate from it?
They're being money grubby. Like, I think the whole point of the PS5 Pro, in itself was to get you to rebuy stuff. I don't understand how anybody who has a PS5 is getting the Pro. Like, especially keeping the PS5. Like, unless you're a collector, like a collector, I understand. Outside of being a collector, I don't see why you would even be just getting this. Like, one, it's a slap in the face for trying to get the regular PS5. That the Pro is the one doing what the regular one promised. I'm not gonna go into that again, but yeah, of course, everything they're gonna do about this thing is gonna be, hey, but rebuy. Like, I'm actually surprised it's gonna be able to like, if you have to buy that separate disk drive, I'm surprised they didn't make another one. Did they make another one that's specific to the Pro?
So that's where I was getting to. So the disk drive is actually supposed to be able to fit on the Pro and the Slim, like with no problem. But apparently, I don't know how true it is yet. We're gonna hear about it soon. But if you are someone, let's say you bought the Slim, and the Slim has a disk drive already, apparently the disk drive, once you program it to the Slim, or if it's already programmed to the Slim, it can't be put on a whole nother system.
There it is. I knew they would do something.
So like if you thought you was going to do some build a block stuff, it's like, well, not with a disk drive that you already have. You would have to buy a second disk drive. You can't be like, okay, I'll put the disk drive on the Pro and I'll have this Slim one that's all digital in another room or something. If that was your plan, apparently No, they have it set up where the firmware is going to do something to it where it will not be able to, update with another system. So you would have to buy a new disk drive no matter what. And that's the thing that's hasn't been like making the waves yet because didn't nobody really get this thing yet, but it's going to eventually. And so that's the bigger part to me because I think that that's really anti-consumer. Because at one point the disk drive was like being scalped and was unavailable, but it took the PS5 Pros like pre-orders to come out to where people kind of left the disk drive alone. I think at that point one or two were even starting to show up in stores, but yeah, you can't just use one from one system and put it on another. If you put it to one system, apparently that's it. It's tied to that system. So that in itself is crazy. You got any thoughts on that?
I think you explained it very well. I knew they would do something like that. The whole thing just feels like I said, it feels like a whole money grubby thing. So I would be surprised if there's even more that come out even later that's gonna keep messing with it. Like you gotta go buy a whole new monitor because it can't hook to a monitor previously used, or it has to be an official Sony licensed monitor.
Yeah, at some point they're gonna mess with the controllers and stuff too. Like you got to get a whole nother controller or something.
Yep, it has to be
I,
has to be plugged to the Pro first in order to even be used.
yeah, the studios and stuff shutting down is one thing, but it's like it's not your consumer's fault. Like you can't just pass it back on the consumer in a different way. What's really bad about it is, like I said, like the great reset has to happen, but it's not like they take that money back in a way and actually like add it to severage packages and stuff for like any of those developers from other studios and stuff. It's like, oh, we didn't make our money here, but we'll make it that way over here, and they're not getting a cut. You know what I mean? When people say support the developer, it's like, we got to really look at that, because some of these developers is not going to get supported. They're definitely not. It is what it is, but we can move on. I could jump right into the halfway point, which is usually centered around our unofficial sponsor known as Epic Games. We all love free stuff. And free is free. We can't really complain with free. We complain about everything else, but so far, but I don't think we complain here because they're giving away free games and they got some Halloween edition stuff, I guess. I still don't feel like it's that much Halloween to me, but one of the bigger games here was Ghostwire Tokyo, which was a bigger deal in 2022, I believe. It came out around this time, 2022. And I think it ran its course, and this is going to give it its second wind, at least for this the PC system or PC side. But Ghostwire Tokyo, and the other game is called Witch It, which if you looked at any screenshots or something, you would think it was like almost a Wizard of Oz looking witch or whatever. But yeah, so those two games are available right now, and they are available until November 7th as of this recording. And then from November 7th to November 14th, they're giving away like a bundle for Apex. Apex is still relatively a free game, free to play, but they're giving away a bundle that I believe is called Ash Free Unlock Bundle. I don't know who Ash is. I'm pretty sure it's not Ash as in Ash Ketchum, but it's
Ash versus Evil Dead.
There you go. Probably. That sounds about right. I don't think they would throw, especially now that Nintendo doesn't like Power World and the guns and stuff. It would be kind of crazy for them to like put a gun in Ash's hands. But yeah, so it's different Ash. And then Deceive Inc., I believe, is the other game. Both of these games are available or will be available November 7th through November 14th. So check that out. Ghostwire Tokyo is the biggest game right now, definitely go and get that. That was a AAA-ish game from Bethesda Studios. And I saw this last minute today. I thought it would be kind of funny to mention. Shout out to SpongeBob SquarePants. I thought I'll mention this. They put out some sort of commercial for SpongeBob, Battle of the Bikini Bottom and the Cosmic Shake game. Apparently, they're gonna get like some sort of like Halloween DLC. I don't know if it's a DLC. If it's probably a free one. Because it didn't look like much. It was just they were gonna throw some Halloween themes in there. And the funny thing is, it's not right now though. It's actually next year. They threw 2025 at the very end of that commercial. It's like, oh, but they announced it now. So you guys got a year to pick up one of those games, and you get to play the Halloween version of the game. What I thought was interesting about it is they mentioned it didn't matter which game you got, and they didn't necessarily say it was a DLC, but the screen or the video clip that they showed just kind of showed SpongeBob running around, and I wonder if this might be the first ever like DLC that works in two different games or something that has like the exact same DLC. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So, huh?
I got SpongeBob news for those that play Magic the Gathering. Starting next year, they're going to be doing their crossover events a lot more, where they like pair up with some other company to make cards that are like themed after the other companies, like Dungeons and Dragons, or they did a bunch like for different like things, and they're going to be pairing up with SpongeBob for some reason. So next year, a bunch of cards are going to be coming out that are SpongeBob themed.
All right. Well, good for them. Shout out to SpongeBob. For anybody who's you like horror but not that kind of horror, well, here you go. Or if you got kids and you kind of really mindful about their type of horror or anything, here you go. Here you go.
The hashtag slasher.
I would imagine he would be in there as like a boss fight or something. But yeah, I don't got too much more as far as like news and sales, so I'll move to the next topic that I have. Is it a big topic? I don't know if this is a big topic, but so we finally got actually a release date for a cool little game out there that is I don't know if it's highly anticipated, but it's a game that or at least a franchise that I like, and that is the Power Rangers. And so
my dog, my partner, did you just say this may not be big news?
I mean, it's
the big game I've been waiting for.
The type of game. I mean, I've been waiting for them to come out with a game, but
okay, but
yeah,
I'll take what I can get right now.
You'll take what you can get.
Shut all of it down. I will take what I can get. And right now, Rita's Revenge, baby, coming out December 10th.
Yeah, I remember them saying before that it was gonna be this year, but like so much was going on, and October was such a big month that I didn't think I was fully expecting them to be like the first quarter of next year or something.
Yeah, but I like that they said guaranteed this year, but they didn't want to give an exact date and have to push it back. So they were waiting until they know it can come out that day.
Yeah, I don't know what else is gonna have to go head to head with in December. I'll probably figure out by next week or something. But yeah, December 10th, just in time for Christmas release for somebody. I was trying to take a look, and this does look like one of the games that does not have a physical release right now, or is set to have a physical release. Is right now is just digital. But it should be available on all the platforms, last gen and current gen, which some people still call next gen. But I think I will probably lean towards the PC side if I'm gonna get it. on if there's no physical release. But it looks like it's supposed to be $34.99. It's not $30.99. It's $34.99. And if you pre-order on Steam right now, they have like a weird discount where it's like $29.74. So you can get it for $29.74 if you pre-order it on Steam. I don't know if you're going to see a better deal for a pre-order by Black Friday. I think that's just what it is until after it comes out. But yeah, Rita's Revenge. It's a beat 'em up. Pretty cool looking. I think it's a dope arcade-ish style game. And yeah. I think you mentioned something at one point when we were talking about the game about the Green Ranger. I think they showed the Green Ranger fully.
Yeah.
In the trailer itself. So yeah. So he is there. The PC version for me is the way to go, just in case somebody does like some like crazy excellent mod after this. And it sounds like in the future the Power Ranger franchise is going to be really, really open to the public going forward. So I'm interested to see what kind of mods people come up with, if they really care, or if they take this and try to like make another fan version of the game or something later on.
Mod I can see coming out is replacing characters with other characters.
Yeah, I think it's just it'll most likely start off as just a reskin.
Yeah.
A lot of mods are really just reskins as it is anyway. But yeah, it will be really nice to see. Is this a day one buy for you? A day one buy? You already
pre-ordered off of Steam.
You gonna pre-order it on Steam?
Yeah.
I
don't like. There's not. I can't see any way of this game coming out and me regretting its purchase. Like I don't see myself regretting anything about this game. So this will be one that I'll go ahead and pre-order. This will be, I guess, the official last game that I pre-order ever.
I do wonder how long it is though, as far as like.
I imagine like 3 hours.
Yeah, because I know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right now has got a lot of momentum as a franchise. But I remember Shredder's Revenge was like 3.5 hours, and people was like done with it like immediately, it felt. And it was just like, oh, and that kind of turned some people away from it for a second. So I was wondering, like, with this coming out afterwards, they have to look at that game to try to say like where do we approve on like whatever people had an issue with that game. And I wonder if the time might be part of it.
One thing that it could improve on though, so I imagine for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones, it was like, side scroller beat 'em up in different locations, where the Power Rangers has the opportunity for Megazord fights, and I think they even showed like some of the other stuff that they're doing with like the roller coasters or the driving section. So
yeah, it looked like there was some extra stuff.
Yeah, they have ways to buff up the time a little bit. Maybe hitting like 5 hours instead of 3.
Yeah, it might have some replayability too, though. Like there might be like with achievements and some other stuff. So yeah,
we're gonna co-op it. Maybe eventually find like 5 full people to make a full team. I can play as every Ranger, so I got some replay out of it.
Yeah, it'll be a dope release. So I might end up pre-ordering it as well. I don't have too much of a reason not to, so I might end up pre-ordering it as well. And this is almost a show. I do want to mention I gotta come at Nintendo sideways again. So this is gonna be a quick topic. It's not even a topic. I feel like I gotta come at them sideways again. Did you see did I send you the trailer that they released another thing, but this time it's their app?
Yeah, you sent me a picture. You just said everything but a new IP.
Bro, everything but a new IP. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, so I know people let them get away with a lot of stuff, but I'm just like, You know what? I'm gonna put it this way: they're at the end of their generation, and I just be like, you know what? Let them get it all out of their system. But when they show that next system, I'm not trying to see none of this type of stuff. Like, I'm not trying to see none of it. I'm not trying to. I don't want to hear about any of these extra gimmicks and stuff. Like a no $100 alarm clock or $100 app. I don't even know how much this costs. But like, I just want to see new games, but for them especially new IPs. They're the ones who are in position to actually have new IPs and just don't do it at all. I would like to see a new IP. I think every generation should have new IPs, specifically from them.
I feel like they should go through every single Smash Bros. Character should have a game. They don't even need to be a whole franchise. Just each one should have a game to be like, hey, you played as this character, now play like a current version of one of their games. Like, don't go back to the old one and republish it with the old graphics. Every one of them should get at least one new game.
Well, I know the Steam what am I trying to say? The storefront on Steam sometimes allows you to buy soundtracks from games outside of just the game itself. Sometimes the deluxe editions of certain games will just have the soundtrack. And so I know it's still a thing for some people to just simply listen to the music outside of the game on the go and everything. So for some people this is probably pretty cool. And I can understand that. I just kind of feel like for me, I'm just like, I didn't ask for it, but you will be able to listen to a variety of their first party games, the music behind the games. And so I guess they showed off a couple different franchises and stuff and was playing a couple snippets of the music. And this is an app. It's not like some new age technology. It's just something I think you're going to download on your phone. I have no idea how much it's going to cost, but I bet you it's going to cost something. But yeah, Disney decided to release the app 1 week, or at least announce the app 1 week or 2 weeks after announcing the alarm clock that I think is actually available for people. They just kind of threw that thing out there. And so I don't know what other gimmick they got coming up, but I will hope it's related to the system and it also allows them to put out some new stuff. That's what I want to see. New actual games, not somebody who I've seen in the past. And I'll support when they do. Like, for example, I want to buy. It's funny. I don't think this is really new technically, but the Smiling Man, their M-rated game. I wanted to try it. I wanted to play the older games first. That's why I said it's not really new. And then play that. And so, if they come out with something that's like, different from your status quo, and that's very different from their status quo, I'll support. I think they need a breath of fresh air. But yeah, anything you want to say about this app at all?
I'm not going to get it. I don't see the purpose of this. I feel like anybody who wants Nintendo music got Nintendo already by other means. So
Yeah. We're almost ready to wrap this up. You want to tell me about Outlast?
so what nice way to end for Halloween. The Outlast video game is getting a movie. It's going to be made by the studio that makes Saw.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and gory as it should be. But yeah, the whole scary Outlast game got greenlit. So that should be exciting.
That's interesting. How many Outlast games was it overall? Because I know it was 2 main ones, but didn't they have like some other one?
Yeah, I think 3 or 4.
Okay.
I know about Outlast. I think. Look at those.
Well, that's the Halloween edition. Hopefully,
Outlast 2 and Outlast Trials.
Outlast Trials, that's what it was. Well, hopefully the horror stories can start to end more sooner than later for the video game world. But yeah, some people, I mean, it's somewhat tongue in cheek, but we had some technically sad news there, right? If you're talking about more studios, two studios just means you just closed down two buildings, right? I don't think that they're like in the same building. It's like, oh, it's on this floor and that floor. It's like, no, it's two separate, places. And when you close it down, that's like a lot of people careers and stuff. So it's one of those things that I think is probably going to continue to happen. It's not going to be PlayStation next week or the week after. It's going to be somebody else, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, once all that stuff is over, said and done, we can start getting some better games that we want. Where it's not just like 4 or 5 games like inside of October, but like spread out and actually coming out, and they have like meaning even behind their releases, like not just let's all throw them out there right before the holiday season or throw them out there during February right afterwards where we think it's more safe. It's like, no, they plan everything, you know what I mean? Like Persona 5 just got on the screen, but I'm probably going to use this footage next week. Like I believe Persona 5 started in like April, right? Like it would have made sense if you release this in April or release this in March for this game, for people to like, you buy it and then you playing it like in the timeline that's like right away lined up with real life. I would like to see something similar to that with other games. You know what I mean? Like going forward, I don't think putting everything in October doesn't really help the gaming sales and everything for any company, period, because you can only buy so much as a consumer, and if you don't buy the right one, well, now we got to shut it down. And it's like you probably literally only had so much money in October, right? And there were just so many titles in October. Dragon Age coming out at the very last minute is like somebody who's itching to buy. They would have to try to refuse Metaphor, refuse Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, right? Refuse Silent Hill to finally make it to Dragon Age. It's like somebody would have folded, if they're really gaming like that. But if this is spread out, we would get more high profile releases throughout the year. And then everybody gets the money that they're looking for. So you don't have to shut everybody down. But that's my 2 cents. Happy Halloween to anybody who celebrates it. If you don't, then don't celebrate it. I'll see y'all next week. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Peace. Be safe.